Joe Cassidy is one of the top limit hold'em players in the world. He has almost $1 million in lifetime tournament winnings, and he primarily focuses on cash games. After playing a $200,000 heads-up freeze-out against him, Daniel Negreanu blogged that Cassidy is the best young poker player in the world.
The biggest difference between limit and no limit hold'em is probably that in limit hold'em, the bigger cards, the ace kings and the king queens and the king jacks, have a lot more value because they win pots. And since the bets are small, if you flop a top pair with like a king queen, somebody that has 2 8s is kind of forced to call you down because you might just have nothing, and the 8s are sometimes good on a king high board. Whereas in no limit, a hand like king queen, when you flop a king and you get action, it's not going to be from a pair of 8s, it's going to be from a set of 8s or a hand like that. So those hands don't really have that. The one pair type hands don't have as much value. A common mistake that amateurs make in limit hold'em is probably, that they don't do that enough. They fold too many hands. They don't value hands like ace high as much as they probably should. They see that they don't have a pair and they fold. But a lot of times when the flop comes like deuce 4-5 and you have king queen or ace 9, you're just up against a jack 10 and you only have to call one little bet because it's limit. So they're probably folding too often, if anything. I've received a lot of valuable advice in my poker career. I mean, there have been so many people that have, and a lot of times advice is kind of given inadvertently. They'll just say one thing that they were thinking in a hand, or, a great player will say something that they were thinking about something, and then you just kind of use the logic that they were using and apply it to other situations that you might find yourself in. My biggest strength in limit hold'em is probably just the amount of experience I've had playing it. I've been playing it since I was 18, and for some reason, maybe more so than other people, I found the game really fascinating and really didn't branch out into other games as much as some of the other poker players have. So I've really focused on it, and when you focus on one particular game, it just makes it makes it easier to play that game with people that might be playing multiple games and kind of applying focus to stud or Omaha 8 or better or games like that. The skill level difference between mid-limit games and high-limit games in Hold'em it depends on the game, but it's definitely, there's definitely a pretty big jump between like the 20-40 level and the 80-160 level, and then there's another very big jump between the 80-160 level and the 4 and 800 level, and then there's even another tier. If you're playing like in a 1 in 2,000 game on the internet, those guys are going to be able to crush the people that play the 4 and 800 game for the most part. There are good players in each of those limits that just don't choose to move up because they just feel comfortable. If you're winning consistently at one limit, I think it depends on what your goals in poker are when you decide whether or not to step it up to the next level. If you're winning at a 20-40 level and you have a family to take care of, or you have some kind of financial obligations that you need to take care of and you would be risking taking care of those obligations by moving up, then it's probably not the best idea to move up. But if you're winning consistently, sometimes people are surprised at what they can do. If an amateur asked me for advice on how to improve their limit hold'em game, I would tell them probably first to read a book like Skolansky on limit hold'em, and then I would probably tell them to get on the internet and play in like not a game that was a free game, but a game like a 25 cent, 50 cent, or $1, $2, where people are actually going to be trying, and just log a lot of hands and review their hands and review how they played each hand, pretty much like you would anything else. The adjustment between playing a no-limit tournament like this and playing limit hold'em in my room is, it's a huge difference. The hands come out faster, the game is completely different, but it's deceptively similar. So when I make the adjustment, I kind of have to take some time and really reflect on, what maybe some hands that I've played in limit hold'em in the past that would be very different from hands that I play in the tournament. I'll just think about a certain hand that I played at some point and think about what I was thinking about, and it kind of somehow gets me back into the right mind frame. I think limit hold'em has lost its popularity mostly because of the television coverage of no limit, and so a lot of the new players that come into poker want to play what they see on TV, and then that causes the pros to want to play with the amateurs that come into the no limit, and it kind of feeds on itself. No limit, it's easy for amateurs to go broke playing no limit, and so that's kind of what's kept limit around, I think. Common knowledge says you need to have like 300 or 400 big bets to have a bankroll to play a limit game, and I think that's probably a very bare minimum. I think that having 500 to 1,000 or even 2,000 big bets is probably a lot safer, just because I've seen really bad runs and really, really scary things happen to really good players. Limit cash games differ from limit tournaments probably in the same way that no limit cash games differ from no limit tournaments. You don't have to worry about going broke in a cash game, so you can make certain gambles. You can gamble with a 51% edge and feel comfortable doing that, knowing that you have an edge. And in a tournament, since you want to survive and make the money, and there's some equity in doing that, you might not make as many gambly plays in a tournament. Limit hold'em is my primary game of choice because that's what I make money at. That's what I've focused a lot of my energy on being good at, and I feel comfortable in knowing that when I play it, I'm going to have an advantage playing it. It's not a learning experience for me.